unless you're participating, we can turn them on and off for you, but we're not gonna. Please just keep your video off and your microphone off. If you are having trouble with the video lagging behind the audio feed of this meeting, sometimes my internet can be kind of slow. I've had success with dropping out of a meeting and then rejoining, and that will sometimes catch me right back up. So if your video is lagging and you're feeling like you might need to leave, at least give that a try. Drop out, rejoin, see if that solves your problem. We are being recorded. I'm going to turn on the recording here. And just want you to know that this meeting is being recorded and it will be made available through the TC WMODAG website and a few other platforms. And we will be using chat to participate. So an important theme of this meeting will be participation, group participation. So I've got this slide here that shows you how to get into your Teams chat. You've got kind of a bar in your Teams meeting. When you click on this little like a comic strip dialog box, you'll get a chat bar to the right side of your screen. At the bottom, there's a little window that you can type in, and you use the little paper airplane to send your idea that you would like to share with the group. And during the course of the rest of the meeting, we'll be using a kind of facilitation app called Mural that works. It's a really cool way of encouraging participation, less passive than PowerPoint. So what I would like to do before I get into the introductions is I want to have everyone practice with chat. It'd be great if everyone would put their name in the chat box, put your name and your title. And I know that we've got some volunteers and citizen scientists who have joined us. So please make sure you note that, citizen scientist, and if you want to tell us what your day job is, that would be great too, but we're really glad that you're here. Thanks for joining us. And since we can't all say out loud, we don't have, on Teams, we just can't all introduce ourselves in person. I want to talk about all the groups that are here right now, and then we'll have the kind of the chat as a way of sort of saying hi and waving at each other from our own homes. So my name is Cassie Champion. I work for Metropolitan Council Environmental Services, and that's the organization that operates the wastewater treatment plants in the Twin Cities. So the employees here from ES are mostly the people who collect water samples from rivers, streams, lakes, and wastewater treatment facilities. Also the employees who analyze those samples in our water quality lab, and other engineers and scientists throughout the organization. Also, I coordinate the stream monitoring program, and an important component of that is our WAMP monitoring program, Watershed Outlet Monitoring Program, and my WAMP cooperators are also here. They partner with me to monitor 14 streams throughout the Twin Cities area. Our organization does a total of about 21. And so that's the first two organizations are here. I'm going to pass it over to Jen Kostrowski to introduce TC WMODAG. Go ahead, Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen Kostrowski. I'm a co-facilitator of TC WMODAG, which is an acronym that stands for Twin Cities Water Monitoring and Data Assessment Group. We are a group of public sector water professionals. We're composed of staff that work for tribal, federal, state, regional, county, watershed organizations, and cities and townships. In addition to government organizations, we also have some members that are part of NGOs as well, so lake associations and other folks. Our unifying goal is to work together to try and make our jobs easier by exchanging information and techniques. And in the end, it's to provide data and assessments to help protect and restore the waters in the Twin Cities metro area. So there are some overlap between council staff and Cassie's WAMP program, but we wanted to make sure that the people who weren't part of those two organizations also were able to hear this presentation. So thank you very much for coming to speak with us.
Thanks.
Cassie, you're muted.
Thanks so much. Brian Johnson is our Met Council limnologist, and I'd like to ask him to introduce his camp monitoring program. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm Brian Johnson, and I'm the coordinator for the Citizens Assisted Monitoring Program with the Metropolitan Council. And we have, this year we got about 125 volunteers or so, and some of them are on the call on the meeting. And so I'm glad some of them can attend. And our volunteers monitor lakes from generally mid-April through October. This year we started late because of the pandemic, but some of them are able to get out. So they go out and measure basically the trophic status of a lake, collecting samples for nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen and chlorophyll and water clarity and temperature. So they get a good, really good snapshot and what the conditions are on the lake. And some have been doing it for quite a few years, 10, 20, maybe 27 years even, and one volunteer. So yeah, they do a great job, and I'm glad this is we can have your presentation today, because I think that the citizen involvement is quite important, and hopefully we can learn some things that you guys have done. Thank you.
And back at you, Brian. We want to learn from you too.
Oh, very good.
Thank you.
All right. You're muted, Cassie. Cassie, you're muted.
I can't believe I did that twice. I apologize. Thanks so much. That's the groups that are here. And now, Jay, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you tell us about Lake Kane. Thanks so much for being here.
Okay, great. Well, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm here with friends and a team, really. So I'd like to introduce them. It's Lucky Meisenheimer, who is the beginner, the guy who started the Lake Kane swim 31 years ago. It's out of his backyard, and Lucky's on the team here. He's the president of the Lake Kane Restoration Society. He's on the board. Tom Welsh is on this call, and he's our poet laureate. So you think, what does water quality have to do with poetry? Well, you'll find out. So Valerie Anderson is our water quality director. She's still exiting another meeting, and she'll be on when it's her turn. And Jay Elkerton is my co-facilitator. Jay is a Minneapolis resident and knows this program called Mural well. And I'd like now to share my screen, yet I need permission to do so, Cass. So that way I'll be able to show you my mural. And that'll just take a minute. In the meantime, I can continue. So in way of introduction, our lake is characterized this way by the state of Florida. It's small, so it's an 80 acre lake. So it's considered smallish, and there's a range you can go through. It's surrounded by private property, so it's considered a private lake. And it is not distressed in any way. It's tested regularly, and it has tests well. So when you are all three of those things, small, private property surrounded, and not distressed, you strike out. You don't get any attention, you don't get any funds, you don't get direction. And I'm not even criticizing. There's so much to do with the environment. The state has its hands full. So what Lucky over the years has done is defended this lake. I'm going to just tell you, he did a great job. There were plans to turn this lake basically into a retention pond, and it's a beautiful lake. People have been swimming in it for decades. It's just, but the lake was defended, and then at some point it became clear that in order to keep the water quality, the citizens had to get together. So this is part of that story. All right, now I hope you are able to see my screen. So let me get a an amen on that. Can everybody see the screen?
We can see it, Jay.
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
great. So part of what we thought we could do of value to you, because it's helped us, is in this strange and challenging time of the pandemic, we've used conference calling quite a bit, and Mural is helpful to us as a giant whiteboard or just a wall on which we can plaster points we need to cover, and also people can participate. Because the technology takes a little bit of learning and practice, and very little actually, and we have a big group, we're limiting entrance to this environment to Cassie and Jen, and from your group. And then Jay and I, the two Jays, will handle the navigating around Mural. But you'll see how it works, and you can see that we've got a general presentation here. Sam Paskey is in the house, I know, and we have been friends and colleagues for years. And there was a AWWA conference scheduled for the Twin Cities in March. I think it was March 30th or something like that. And it was canceled because of this darn virus. So this is more or less the presentation our group, Lucky, Valerie, and I were going to give in Minneapolis. And we want to be a good example for citizens engaging in lake management practices and protection. So that's the overview. We're going to take you around there. I've given you a little bit of the introduction. You can see now, using Mural, that we can hone in on things. You've seen that opening slide, but I want to bring your attention to this book that was influential to us, to me. It's called Blue Mind, and it is really linking science and this tracking of human happiness. It has something to do with water. I'm not going to go any further than that, but I reference this book to you because as we work with people and engaging in the lake, you know what? It's just getting out of the way of people connecting with what makes them happy. A clean lake makes people happy for all sorts of reasons, not just because of swimming. We think swimmers are particularly invested because we end up drinking the water. But the point is, human happiness and clean water are linked. Science says so, so it must be true. But there's always more than science. There's people who became English majors when they went to college. And I'd like to introduce you to one. His name is Tom Welsh, and I could give him many professor titles and all sort of things, but he's the poet laureate. So there's many accomplishments. Tom, would you like to talk about your role in the poetry engagement that we do?
My role is simply as a poetry herder. Poems come in and I herd them to the proper receptacle. Before our board meetings, we have a poetry contest and a photography contest. So people put in pictures of the lake and things like that, and then they write poems. Now these photos and the poems become the basis for an annual calendar that we produce and that we send out to everyone who has been a patron of the Lake Cane Restoration Society. So it's kind of a community-generated, locally sourced bit of artistic endeavor. Now, of course, anyone with a camera can take a picture, but it takes a little bit more to be engaged in poetry. So we get all kinds of poems, from the ridiculous to the sublime. We have two rules, or guidelines rather, for submissions of the poem. Oh, by the way, winners for both the photography and the poetry walk home with $50, and they can call themselves a published author because their poem will be published. So we just simply ask them to Keep it calendar sized. Make the length of your poem somewhere between a haiku and a sonnet. That's about the size we're looking for. We had to eliminate the limerick portion of the poem for obvious reasons. People are abusing the privilege, and it is a family show. So no limericks, please.
Yeah, we get all kinds.
But anyway, somewhere between a haiku and a sonnet. And then the other rule, simply, or guideline, is keep your toe in the water. It doesn't have to be about the lake. It doesn't have to be about swimming or any of those things, but we would like you to make some kind of connection to that. So I'm just gonna wrap this up to present to you what you see there on your screen. A sample of a poem that would be submitted, and this is quite a good one. Some of them are pedantic, and you get a lot of moon, June, croon kind of a thing. But this is from Michael Zahn, who's actually a doctor, I believe, dentist perhaps. Anyway, he's a frequent contributor, and it's simply called "Let This Lake." So let me share this with you, if I may. Let this lake be lit with love for the creatures below and the creatures above. Let this lake be flush with fish, fulfillment of every angler's wish. Let this lake be glassy smooth so paddle boarders can get their groove. Let this lake be gator free, as much as any lake can be, so swimmers can kick in ecstasy. Let this lake be free of yuck for those who quietly skinny dip or chunky dunk. Let this lake be fertilized no more, so weeds don't choke and block the shore. Let this lake be bright as crystal with clarity deep, not superficial. Let this lake please all its users, including canoers, kayakers, and canoodlers. In summary, we surely all want Cane to be a haven clean, pristine, pollution-free. We are Cane's men. We are Cane's women. Let this be our sacred mission. Thus submitted. Take it away, Jay.
Hey, Tom, you hit a home run there. All right. If that's not engagement, I don't know what is. There you go. So thank you. Now, in the spirit of the meeting, we would ask you to submit a poem. You can do it in the chat box. We're going to be monitoring the chat box. Tom, keep an eye out for the bards of the lake, of the 10,000 lake area. I'm sure they're there. And then what we're going to do is continue a pace to get through the presentation. But thank you, Tom, very much. And that's a great example of what you guys would be surprised what comes. And this is the kind of thing that bonds people to the lake, or at least expresses the bonds that they already have. Now, Lucky, you're up. What we're going to do is Lucky took the time and trouble to make a video for this presentation. And I recommend we all watch it. And Cassie and Jen, you have the technical chops to make this work through Teams. But Lucky, before the video runs, did you want to say anything? Lucky, you might be on mute. Okay. Maybe not. So why don't we run the video?
Just to make sure, can you guys see the screen?
I can see the screen.
All right, here we
I
go.
can see it.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jen.
I can hear it too.
Fantastic.
I'm Lucky Meisenheimer. I'm the founder of Lucky's Lake Swim, and I'm going to talk about engaging swimmers in a unique way to preserve our environment and our water quality. And this is reproducible anywhere there are bodies of water. So a little bit about swimmer engagement involvement. I began the swim in 1989, It was just a couple people then in the beginning. This is a photo from the early 91, where we had such a huge crowds on a Saturday. We thought we better take a picture because we might not ever have this many swimming again at one time. But over the years, things have changed. Now we're in our 31st year of holding our daily lake swim, and we average 30 to 40 swimmers on weekdays and 100 plus swimmers on Saturdays. Our record is 474. We also swim year-round, and we swim in the dark and even in the cold, and we've had well over 10,000 people from all over the world join us. We have over 60 different countries represented. The Central Florida Historical Society has designated this as a historic event. The Open Water Swimming Association, WOWSA, has ranked this as one of the top 100 open water swims in the country, and it's the only one that's free. The swim has also spun off a 501c3 corporation, the Lake Cane Restoration Society, which works to keep this lake swimmable, lovable, and fishable. So how did we go about engaging people so they felt it was more than just a swim across the lake? How did we develop this into a community and actually a lifestyle? Well, it started with several different things that we did. Perhaps the single most significant thing we did was we started having people sign the back wall of my house. We called this the Wall of Fame, and you can see it's blown up. And this developed into a whole system of milestone awards. We now have a very famous Gator, Buddy the Gator. You always swim with a buddy that everybody takes a picture with. You get a patch and other swag for doing the swim. Then we decided to start doing some special events like our midnight swim, where we show a horror film, and then right after watching it at midnight, we get in the lake and do a swim. And how many would do this? Well, it turns out a lot, because swimmers will do just about anything if you offer them a patch. And I've mentioned before, we do swim year round, even when it's cold. Wetsuits are optional, and the hot tub is very popular after these cold water swims. Matter of fact, we swim just about any time. Fog, rain, we're out there plugging away. And yes, we've even swam during hurricanes. This is Hurricane Irma, and me and a friend out there plowing through the rough water of Hurricane Irma. Not normally recommended. We even swim at weddings. This is my wedding and guest at my wedding. We got married in the backyard so we could do a swim, and we've got a lot of other events we've done. This is a cool toy float parade that we did one year to raise money for the Lake Cane Restoration Society. That was a blast, getting out there and having a lot of fun. We've had several world record attempts. This is Yuko, who swam 82 miles in the lake. That was over 30 hours of swimming to set the world record for the longest open water lake swim for a female. This event is our Hands Across Lake Cane. It was for the Special Olympics. We had nearly 400 people join hands and make a human chain across the lake, raising thousands of dollars for our local Special Olympics programs. I coached the local Special Olympics team for 25 years. We have an annual Easter event called Eat, Pray, Swim, where we have an Easter sunrise service, a pancake breakfast, and then we all hop in the water and do a swim. We have the Navy SEAL Foundation Night Ops 5K swim, which raises money for the Navy SEAL Foundation. We've been doing this for a number of years. We also have the Rowdy and Lucky 1.5K open water swim, which raises money for the YMCA Scholarship Fund, and our big event, the Golden Mile, which raises money for our 501c3 corporation. And we have real gold medals, double the Olympic content of gold, given out during this race. We lovingly call our daily swim the Enter the Food Chain swim because we are in the environment and we have impacts with it. And sometimes the environment impacts us. This is the Moss Park Gator Man who got bit by a gator. He now swims with us. Here is a fish that died. It had chased a smaller fish into a bag and they both suffocated. Apparently fish can't read warnings on disposed bags that say danger of suffocation. In this little clip, this is me and my sons rescuing an hinga. This is a water bird. We do have impacts on the environment because this was a fisherman's lure that had been trapped in the shoreline, and the anhinga got its neck impaled with the fish hook and could not get free and would have essentially died. So we went down there, removed the fish hook from his neck, and he did survive. But it is a reminder that in all aspects, whether we're fishing or swimming or just living on the lake, we do impact the lake, and we should be good stewards of the lake as well. We get much enjoyment out of it, but we need to give back to the lake as well. This is a turtle that had been struck by a boat propeller. His shell had been cracked. We tried to rescue the turtle. His leg was amputated. He did live for a few days, but we were unfortunately unable to nurse him back into good health. I'm a big fan of turtles. I like turtles, turtles like me. I do feed some of the local turtles. We have a little turtle island for them. A lot of folks will bring me turtles that they've had in their aquariums. We raise them, and then we will have a little release party once they're big enough that we think they can survive in the lake. And some of them still come back to this day to our dock for our daily feedings. So that's a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I do have a neighbor that likes to eat our turtles, which I'm not that happy about, but that's part of living on a lake. Now, we also impact the environment through pollution, and our county is the worst polluter because they have runoff straight from the roads directly into the lake. And the city at one point decided they were going to build a 60-inch pipe and drain 200 acres of roadway straight into the lake, which would, of course, killed the lake. That really solidified the Lake Cane Restoration Society, and we worked together, and we were able to shut that project down in just a little bit over 2 weeks with community support. So this is how communities and swimmers can come together and really impact the environment. Because I can guarantee you this 60-inch pipe would have completely destroyed the lake. So we had a very organized effort. We had hundreds of people behind us, and they were very adamant about keeping this a swimming lake. This is an invasive species. This is an apple snail. It is not blood-sucking, as that picture might indicate. This is a tree frog, another invasive species, and hydrilla, which is a horrible problem in Florida. Matter of fact, we had such a bad hydrilla problem that some areas of the lake became unswimmable. So how did we handle it? Well, the state solution was a taxation district, which nobody was agreeable to. So what we did was we raised money and we placed triploid carp, which are non-reproducing carp, to clear out the lake. Now, one of the problems with that is they go in as 10 inches, and our friendly pelicans ate about $2,000 worth of carp before they got to a size where they could survive. Now we have a lot of carp, we have a decreasing shoreline, so what to do? Well, we feed them. And what this does is it makes the plants happy, and it makes the carp happy, and if the hydrilla were ever to return, then we'll just quit feeding the carp. So this is a good way to create a balance in the nature. Now the hydrilla was good for something. The fish loved it, and with it gone, a lot of the nesting places went with it. So this is how we handled it. We created our own artificial reefs, and you can see it works. That's our artificial reef, and there are hundreds of little fish surrounding that. And we believe this is another solution that we have. And again, this is all put together because swimmers have gotten together and formed the Lake Cane Restoration Society, and we work very hard on keeping the lake environmentally fresh and clean and safe for both the animals and the humans swimming in the lake.
Super. Now, Jay, Lucky, thank you very much. Thank you. That was very helpful. We have, if everybody can now see the mural screen, my co-facilitator Jay has been putting up some ideas that and reactions to the video. What I'd like people to do is to put in the chat box any reactions you have, but any ideas you have for engagement. What do you do to engage your swimmer scientists? If we could just get a couple discussion points. Do you have participation in any of those ways? And we're open to hearing about it. We'd kind of like to put it in perspective for what we're doing. So, and I'm opening this to comment too. If anybody would like to comment verbally, you can take yourself off mute. And I believe that's an option, Cass, isn't it?
Yes, you can take yourself off mute, no problem. But if you do want to speak up, then please remember to re-mute yourself when you're finished. Otherwise, we're going to hear your phone call or your kid yelling.
Okay, so Lucky, did you want to add anything as a closer to the video you produced for this call?
No, I think everything was pretty much said in the video. I would welcome everybody when they do come down to the Orlando area to come and join us for a lake swim. We have, like I said, thousands and thousands of people that join us each year, and it's really a unique situation, and thank goodness we have it, or we would have a very, very polluted lake. I noticed a couple people had commented in the chat of these people, are these just lakefront owners that have a stake in it? And actually, notice the vast majority of people that are in the Lake Cane Restoration Society are actually just people that come join us for a swim. So that has made the homeowners on the lake very tolerant of the swimmers, because they know if it wasn't for the swim, we probably would have a totally unusable lake.
Wow, thanks for saying that, Lucky. And I see that we have a few questions here, and I'd like to read them and then have any Lucky or Tom or Valerie, in case Valerie's on yet, to address them. So from Cassandra, how did you contact and activate your citizen advocate? Okay. So how did we, if you could, Cassie, explain to me, what do you mean by citizen advocate?
Well, I asked that question during the point in the video where Lucky was talking about the impending road construction, and said they were able to shut that project down or redirect it in a pretty short period of time. And I'm wondering, how did you contact people? How did you get them involved and excited to kind of help you take on City Hall, so to speak?
Super. Lucky, go for it.
Sure. Well, we already had a active blog to where I was contacting swimmers. Actually, it was more the swimmers that were outraged. It was harder to reach actually the people living on the lake. I will, because this comes up a lot with environmental concerns, I always tell people the key to fighting City Hall is finding the person that can shut down whatever environmentally bad project is being planned, and don't bother with anybody below that, because they are just going to be mouthpieces for that. You're not going to get anywhere with those. And the person that you need to find is the electable person. This is somebody that has to be elected to their job. So somebody that's electable and somebody that has the power to punch the button to shut it down. And in this case, for what we referred to as the poison pipeline, it was the mayor of the city. Now, this is interesting because it is a county lake. It is not a city lake. They had received an egress from the county to actually put this pipe in. So the county has said, well, it's a city problem. The city says, well, we don't really give a care because it's a county lake and we don't care if we pollute you or not. That was basically the message they were sending us. So what we did is, once I found out that the mayor was the one who could push the button, and fortunately for us, thank God, elections were in 6 weeks. So we immediately, we didn't worry. Everybody wanted to do protest marches and write letters and all this. We didn't. What I did was I contacted a few people that knew the mayor and had them write him a little note saying, hey, this Lucky guy is like a Gila monster. He will never let go from you. He will bite you in the leg. You can cut his head off and he will not let it go, because he's not really political, but he is very passionate about the lake. So don't mess with this. And then I wrote the mayor and congratulated him that with all public works projects, they need to be named for somebody. And so we have decided to name this great public works project the mayor, and I'm not going to say his name because he did the right thing, Mayor XX Poison Pipeline. And oh yes, we have placed a sign on the road. And then, and then at the very next town meeting, we had a bunch of people sitting there with stop, blank blank's poison pipeline. And they were the first people that had their hands up in the meeting. And the first thing you said at the meeting was, this is a dead project. It is over. And that's all it took.
Okay. Now, thank you, Lucky. These are great stories. I love hearing it. And Cassie, did you want to make a point?
No, I was just curious. I think that's really interesting. Thanks for sharing, Lucky.
Thank you. Okay, totally cool. Totally cool. Now, I want to get through these if I could. The gator control, I want to say that the lake is not connected to other lakes. There is a drainage kind of swamp. It's very shallow. So a gator really has to want to get to the lake. They do travel by land, but they really have to really want to get there. And in general, people see the lake frequently. And if one is spotted, then we know to be aware. And then working with the state, there's a license that you can get to remove the gator. I grew up in Ohio. I'm not a native of Florida, but I've learned, gators really have, let's say, they don't go out and look for you. They wait for food to come to them. And if we could just encourage tourists to not feed the gators. Do you have participation for people who don't own? Yes. The people around the lake shore do participate, but it is mainly swimmers. Lucky, do you agree with that?
Yeah, we actually have several people on the lake now that do the lake swim. It's just become part of their lifestyle. But the vast majority of the people that swim the lake do not live on the lake. And matter of fact, we have people from all over the world, as I mentioned, come and visit us. It's actually a destination point travel-wise. It's a bucket list for many triathletes and open water swimmers now. So it's just grown in that capacity. So it's really neat. And like I said, it's good that we have the participation of the swimmers to protect the lake, because that allows the homeowners to see, yeah, it's worth having people out early in the morning. And we control that too. It's not like anybody just can come in at any hour and be swimming across the lake. We have a set time. And we control that time. So the rest of the time, the people that live on the lake can use the lake for skiing and all the other water activities.
Jay, this is Jen. Just in the
Go,
interest
Jen.
of time, I want to just remind you that we have about like 10 minutes left.
Yeah. I'm gonna, my reputation as a time manager is going to be lost here. I do want to answer all the questions. I'll tell you what, we will answer all the questions, and that'll be together with Cassie and Jen. You can save this mural. Part of the cool thing about the mural approach is it will be captured, saved, and sent to you and available to everybody. So I do want to say we have Valerie Anderson on the talk here. She is our director of water quality, a great person who does so much to help. And I thought it might be good for this crowd, especially, to see a little bit about our lake testing data. So while we have time, I'm going to move there. Val, can I get a 10-4 that you're on the line?
10-4.
Okay. So here we are. We're in the water quality report area of our presentation. This is so, and somebody asked, where did the city redirect its water? Because it had to go elsewhere. It was the Vineland Road project, and it went to an actual drainage swamp built next to the turnpike for those purposes, but they had to extend it at least 3/4 of a mile to a larger drain. And what you're seeing here are pictures for that. So Val, what we can do is, and Jay, your help making sure I do this right, what we can do is show you the water quality data. Val, do you want to say anything introductory about your role and your perspective on the lake?
I mean, I have been a lake swimmer. I'm not currently. I would say, as water quality manager, I'm more of a data cruncher. So we have volunteers who do the sampling for nutrients, and then that data goes to the state, and the state processes the data and puts it online, and then I talk to the swimmers and the board about trends in what's happening with the lake, so we can keep up with how the lake is doing, is what we're doing having any impact. So that's what I do.
Great. Well, I have your slides that I just deleted. Shoot. Hey, Jay, can you help me put Val's slides up there? So
just Control Z to bring it back.
Okay, so I'll do the Control Z. There we go.
And just double click on that.
There we go. Sorry, folks. Yep, that'll do it. Now, Val, this is a crowd that does a lot of water quality collection. I just thought I'd give, if you could just, this is an older report, but if you want to talk a little bit about this, or how you work with the sampling crew, or what you think the prospects are.
Yeah, so obviously there's some the data is very old that we've been getting, and I just graph it to show trends. You can see, I have this this from the 2000s. And then next slide. Then I kind of tighten it up so we can see what it's been like for the past 10 years. General.
Very cool.
Yeah.
This is the trophic index, if you can see that.
Yeah, so this is, Florida doesn't have numeric nutrient criteria like many other states do. And, actually the state of Florida was sued over not having numeric nutrient criteria. So we have this sort of non-regulatory approach to water quality here. And the trophic state index is one sort of overall index for how the water is doing in terms of nutrient. Does it have too much nutrients in it?
Okay. Want to say a thing or two about the Sechi depth or clarity, or your hopes and dreams of what the lake
My
could
hopes
be?
would be for us to see the bottom of the lake again, as has been in the past. In 1995, when you could see all the way to the bottom of the lake, and that's the last data from November. 6 feet, which puts us clearly in the eutrophic state, and for swimmers, this is really important. And I mean, this would be the focus of my efforts, is to improve the visibility in the lake.
Yeah, and I'm going to skip to some of the slides to the phosphorus level too, and this is determined by the soil content as well.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of the Florida phenomenon. We can, and I shared, Cassie, I shared the report that the University of Florida returns to us after we collected a year's worth of data. Here's the nitrogen level. This is all the report that goes to the board, partly, in order for us to measure and see some way of responding to residents that progress is being made. I offer, we have just a little bit of time, but is there any discussion that, you all have in terms of the data that we collect? Any questions that you might want to ask about that? Please put them in the chat box. Again, we'll answer all the questions, even if we can't get to it at this very moment. And feel free to unmute and jump in. Okay.
Jay,
Good.
Just because I've seen the other slides ahead of time, but I think there might be some interest in the remote technology for monitoring.
Okay. Excellent. Yes, I agree. And now I'm looking for.
So we have to go back to the original tab where you had the mural.
Got it. Thanks. Thank you. Sorry. Okay. And this is our near future. So Valerie, this is also related to water quality. There's two main steps we see in our future. And again, time is going to run out, but there's a locally developed product which is being called Bold and Gold. And it's really a phosphorescent absorptive patented material that can be put to filter this this stormwater runoff especially off the road that is near our lake. So we have scoped a project which has a lot of interest in being funded. It won't be cheap, but it's affordable to with some partnering. And but what is needed before we put that in is we've got to get good baseline data. So what we're doing already, we have a temperature monitoring that Lucky has posted on the website, and we're able to share real-time temperatures on the website. What we're going to do using some testing data and some equipment that's being donated is include water quality measures that can be on any swimmer's app. There's more to share, but every swimmer at Lucky's Lake can tune into an app that tracks your laps and how many laps you do includes rewards of various kinds, like a baseball cap at 100 and a t-shirt at 200. So there's all these kind of awards going. But in that app, we'll be able to show water quality. Finally, this water quality monitoring that the swimmers are advocating and sponsoring will and has allowed us to become a registered swim with the U.S. Masters Swim Association for the Golden Mile. They want to make sure for liability purposes that we've got a clean lake, and this kind of telemetering is in our future, very near future. The project was supposed to start this week. Gosh, you guys, we're going to run out of time. It's sure an honor to be talking with you all. I leave, there's a few minutes left. Does anybody want to say anything? And please put in the text in the comment box any questions you have. We'll answer them all. I open the floor. All right. Well,
Thanks, Jay. We really appreciate you joining us. Go ahead.
Yeah. I want to put in one, if it's the sustaining structure is having people focus on water quality, fellowship, getting smart, always learning, and finances. You are all welcome to Lake Cane. Lucky. What if all these guys showed up in your backyard for a swim? Is that okay?
We welcome everybody.
There you go.
Lucky
Great.
will
Well,
be happy
thanks.
to put you up at his house.
Yeah, that's true.
We might try to take you up on that. That sounds pretty nice.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah, thanks so much for presenting, Jay, and I just appreciate that your group came and shared this with us. So it's really interesting. There's lots of content there. LakeCane.com also has more information about the Lake Cane Restoration Society. I'm going to leave the recording running for a little while longer. If you have questions that we didn't get to, please still add them into the chat. We will work together afterwards to get through all of those questions. And if you are looking for a contact, we'll make sure that we can make a contact for you, whether it's our volunteer monitoring program or more information from the folks in Orlando. Really appreciate the time that we got to spend together. Thanks so much, and go enjoy a beautiful weekend, whether you're here in Minnesota or down in Florida. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Cassie. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, thanks. It is. Come on down. It's free and, right next to Universal Studios. We told Cassie and Jen, it's 15-minute walk to Harry Potterville from Lucky's yard.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's impressive.
Sounds like a good late winter trip.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. We swim year round.
What was the water?
We don't.
The water temperature now is what, 85?
It's in the mid 80s. I didn't look today. Lucky, do you know what the temp is?
Hot.